4. If this house was in high school, it would be a senior. Are we going to graduate this year? Probably not. I looked at 2 options for building the 20-foot tall metal spiral stair in the living room. The first option was to buy a prefabricated metal stair kit and assemble it myself. So I called Paragon Stairs. They quoted a reasonable price, but after being sent 3 different sets of shop drawings, all of which had mistakes in them, I started to wonder if it was a good idea to give thousands of dollars to a random company I found on the internet. So I checked their Yelp reviews. It was time to try option number 2. Find a local metalworker who could build a spiral stair. In the small town where I live, I could only find one guy who was willing to give this a try. I called Billy McKean. His price was a little higher than the prefab companies, but his stair would be built from a thicker steel, it would be welded instead of fastened together, and his crew would build it. I also liked the idea of keeping the money in the town. As you can see, the challenges started right away. Billy's crew had to get this 24-foot long steel post into the house without breaking anything, and straighten it up into the attic opening. As we watch Billy try to stabilize the top of the post in the center of the opening, it's easy to forget that it is a 20-foot fall to the floor below. Once the post was centered and plumb, the guys started adding treads. A spiral stair like this does have to meet code. So each tread has to be the exact right height from the floor, and each step must rotate precisely 15 degrees, and they need to be level in 2 different directions. I'm jumping ahead with the editing, but this took some time to get right. This railing was rolled in a shop, which is what gives it its curve, but the radius wasn't exactly right. So what you see here is this gentleman using a blowtorch to heat and soften the metal, and that allows the guys to ever so gently bend it in a little tighter and make it fit within the 5-foot diameter of the stair. The balusters we used are 3/4 diameter solid steel. Once everything's welded together, I'm not sure how much this whole thing will weigh, but it's a lot. Fortunately, I did plan ahead, and I poured a concrete footing directly beneath this stair, and I added a block pier to transfer the load from the floor to that footing. Do not build anything this heavy without a pier and a footing directly underneath it, or it's going to end up in your crawl space. Once the guys finished up, I cleaned off the oily residue and immediately put a coat of primer on the steel. Exposed steel starts rusting almost immediately. I'll come back later with a coat of paint. Shortly after the stairs were built, I started building a deck on the roof. It might appear that this roof is flat, but it's actually at a 1:12 slope. This gradual slope and the 2 scuppers on each side keeps this part of the roof from turning into a swimming pool, which would fall through the ceiling. This slope meant I had to custom cut the underside of each beam to match the angle of the roof. To avoid scratching or penetrating this somewhat fragile TPO membrane, I needed a way to cushion this entire structure. This is a pool noodle. They are easy to find and they are not expensive. And if you cut them down the middle, you can open them up and slide them onto the bottom of an 1.5-inch wide beam. I left gaps between the cushions so rainwater can move freely down to the scuppers. These pool noodles are made to hold their shape in water, so it seems like it should work. I do want to add a warning. I haven't actually seen anyone else use pool noodles on a deck built on top of a TPO roof like this before. If this is something you want to try, you might check back and see how it worked out for me long term. There's a chance that I'm making a very expensive mistake. This paint did not stick on the TPO, by the way. Do not recommend. Here's another experiment I tried earlier. I dry poured a concrete pad for my air conditioning system. I saw people doing this on YouTube and it looked a lot less stressful than wet pouring concrete. You build your forms, you literally dry pour in the concrete, you screed it flat, you put whatever texture you want on the surface. I used a paint roller. This is what it looks like before adding water. And then you gently mist this top layer. Once your surface layer has hardened enough to resist pockmarking and splattering, and you soak the whole thing a few more times. If you're interested in doing this, there are good tutorials that will walk you through step by step. I wouldn't use concrete like this for anything structural or anywhere where you needed a nice looking finish. But if you want a floor for your outdoor shed or pad for your HVAC system, then dry poured concrete will get the job done. The last thing I wanted to show you involves the Crawlspace. A while back, I boarded up the entry to prevent wildlife and possibly a neighborhood kid from going underneath the house. But as you can see, an animal or a person has broken one of these boards. I tried to discern if it was busted outward or inward, but I couldn't tell. Either way, I decided it was time to fully encapsulate the Crawlspace. Installing a vapor barrier is pretty straightforward. You unroll and unfold the plastic sheet. There's been a few times that I considered the job done after this first step, but if you want your vapor barrier to last, you've got to tape it up the walls of the foundation and tape it all together. I tried 2 different kinds of tape to adhere it to the concrete part of the foundation. Zip tape by far worked the best. When you have 2 pieces of this material overlapping, you can use this white tape and it will create a watertight seal. I also hammered in a few landscaping staples to keep the entire thing from shifting around, and I used this tape to seal over the staples. This isn't difficult work, but it is time consuming. I started mid-morning and assumed I would be able to complete this task in a few hours, but as is often the case, I underestimated how long this would take. And it was getting pretty dark. It's right about here that I thought I heard a noise. It was pretty late, so I decided to pack it up. When I got back to the house, I uploaded the video file. I zoomed in and brightened the image, and that's when I saw this. It kind of looks like a deer leg. I went back the next day. I didn't see anything down there, so I finished up the vapor barrier. And it looks like this. This should protect the house from moisture weeping up from the dirt, and all of the plastic should make a pretty inhospitable environment for animals. I like animals, by the way. I just don't want them in my crawl space with my electrical wiring. In the next video, I'm going to install spray foam and fiberglass insulation on the same wall and use an infrared camera to see which one works better. I think I have enough content for 2 more videos, or possibly one really long video. Either way, the end of the series is near.